Drake Maye and Dillon Gabriel are dominating training camp. We'll tell you why you should buy them next.
You are Locked On Dynasty Football, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Welcome back. I am your host, Marcus Mosher. You can follow me on Twitter at Marcus_Mosher. And joining me today, as always, is Michael Fabiano. You can follow him on Twitter at Michael_Fabiano. You can also check out all of his great work over on SI. And on today's show, we're going to take a look at some training camp winners from the first week of camp. And again, I'm just going to say we should not overreact too much. It's just 1 week of practices, 2 for the Chargers. So again, keep that in mind. But who are a couple quarterbacks, Fabs, that are standing out to you?
Well, first off, that Cleveland Browns quarterback situation seems to be completely up in the air. But as you mentioned, Dillon Gabriel has really stood out. He's getting reps with the first team offense. And in addition, Kenny Pickett pulled a hamstring near the end of Sunday's practice, and now he's going to be reevaluated this week. And honestly, I mean, out of the 4 quarterbacks, including Joe Flacco and Shedeur Sanders, I wouldn't be surprised if Pickett weren't even on the roster once we get to week 1. And now that he's going to miss time, that gives Sanders and Gabriel more reps moving forward. So I still think Joe Flacco is going to be the quarterback in week 1. Remember, this is an offense where he won comeback player of the year a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. And while the Browns are not going to win anything this season, I mean, if they win 5-6 games, that would probably be a win for them at this point. We're really interested to see which of these 2 rookies could potentially emerge and or make the biggest impact. And right now, while Shedeur Sanders has like the bigger name, Dillon Gabriel, who, remember, the Browns drafted before Sanders. They could have drafted Sanders in round 3. They waited, and he was still there in round 5. They drafted Dillon Gabriel, the lefty, in round 3. He right now has the most dynasty appeal on this team. And again, if Pickett misses significant time and or ends up not making the roster, then all 3 of those quarterbacks, Flacco, Sanders, Gabriel, make the roster. And we're looking at who is going to be the first rookie to take over for Flacco at some point during the regular season, which is kind of the scenario that I see. Yeah. And I think it's probably going to be Dillon Gabriel.
So just off the top, I hope that Flacco starts the year. First of all, I think that's the best thing for the offense. I think he can facilitate the offense the best. And if you've got Jerry Jeudy or David Njoku and Cedric Tillman, he's probably just the best option to start the year. Plus, I want Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders to have time to learn this offense and not be thrown right into the fire. So I think that's the best outcome for all parties. However, we've spent a lot of time talking about Shedeur Sanders and not Dillon Gabriel. And Sanders is the 5th round pick, and Gabriel's the 3rd round pick. And it's been Gabriel that's been pretty consistently running with either the first or second string offense. Shedeur Sanders has not gotten any reps with the first team yet. And I'm sure they're coming, but so far it's been Gabriel. And I just feel like we haven't talked about him enough. Fabs, did you know that he is college football's all-time leading passer in touchdowns, 155? He had over 1,200 rushing yards in college and 33 rushing touchdowns. And remember, that includes the sack yards. So it's actually way more than that. He is kind of a dual threat quarterback, which is great for fantasy. And right now over on Dynasty League Football, he's free. He's not even being drafted inside the top. Oh, let's see right now. Not inside the top 33 quarterbacks. He's not even being selected inside the top 300 players. So you can get him for nothing right now.
Yeah, it's funny how that works, right? Simply because Shedeur Sanders has his dad's last name and he had some statistical success at Colorado, which, by the way, retiring his number was the dumbest thing I think I've ever seen, or at least one of them. Dillon Gabriel is the guy that we should be thinking about and talking about, and that's why we're doing exactly that. We're giving you out there the heads up that that's probably the guy that you want to draft when your rookie-only draft comes out or your startup comes out. Dillon Gabriel is Again, a potential dual threat player, as Marcus just mentioned, and someone who's not getting enough mentions. Certainly in the fantasy football world and in the dynasty world, he's a player to watch.
And I kind of like Dillon Gabriel, even back with Oklahoma, for my Sooners. I just think he's a good quarterback. And now he's not big. He doesn't have the strongest arm. And I've heard some people compare him to Tua, and I think that's a little lazy because they're both left-handed
Lefties.
But I will say he is very athletic. He can move around the pocket. The accuracy can come and go. But I do think there's a chance that he could become one of these guys that's just a high volume passer. The comp that I've always given him is like Case Keenum, where Case Keenum's not a sexy option, but you put him in the right offense and he can actually facilitate your offense. And your guys are, your receivers and tight ends get those targets that you need. He's somebody at the very least, I think is worth stashing at the bottom of your roster. Now, one other quarterback that we need to mention, Drake Maye, who has been kind of your guy this entire offseason. Sounds like he's ripping it up in camp. Give us your thoughts on Drake Maye through week 1.
All of the reports have been positive, and the report that I like the most is that he's running in camp. In fact, there were a couple of reports out there that suggested he was looking like Josh Allen. Now, we're not going to confuse Drake Maye for Josh Allen. No. But once again, if you guys remember what I had talked about on a podcast earlier in the offseason, dating back to 2000, the quarterback has rushed for at least 600 yards 32 times. That's 15 quarterbacks. And the minimum games started in this research that I did was 10. In 27 of those instances, 84%, the quarterback averaged more than 17 points per game. In 25% of those instances, 25 of those instances, 78%, the quarterback averaged at least 18 points per game. In 20 of those instances, 63%, the quarterback averaged at least 19 points per game. And in 59%, he averaged over 20. So, folks, if Drake Maye, who, if you look at the games that he started and played the majority of the snaps last year as a rookie, and you average the rushing yards that he had in those games over a full 17-game schedule, he's going to rush for over 600 yards. If Drake Maye rushes for 600 yards, he's almost guaranteed to be a top 12 quarterback in fantasy.
Oh, yeah.
Top 12. Guaranteed, guys. Okay? Now, listen, I understand he's not going to be Peyton Manning as a passer, but he's not terrible. If he gives us 3,600 passing yards, 18 touchdowns through the air, and 8 interceptions, and rushes for 650 plus yards, which will certainly give you a good chance to get, 4 to 6 rushing touchdowns, Drake Maye is going to be a QB1 in fantasy this season.
I'm going to give you a quarterback stats from 2021, and you tell me if you'd sign up for this. 3,800 passing yards, 21 passing touchdowns, 370 rushing yards, and 7 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
That's Ryan Tannehill from 2021, who Mike Vrabel had. Right now, that wasn't even Mike Vrabel's that wasn't even Ryan Tannehill's best year. I mean, he's had some other big seasons. We also had a Ryan Tannehill season in 2020 where he had 40 touchdowns. 2019, you remember that year? He only started 12 games. He had 22 passing touchdowns. So I think there's this misconception that Mike Vrabel quarterbacks don't put up fantasy points and it's kind of a slow moving offense. That hasn't been the case. He's been very effective. I don't see why Drake Maye couldn't have a similar type of season as to what Ryan Tannehill did in Tennessee.
Drake Maye is my favorite breakout quarterback this season. Jaden Daniels was my favorite breakout quarterback last season. And historically, when I talk about quarterbacks who I like to break out and have their first big season in the NFL, it's due to the fact that they're a dual threat. And Drake Maye is that dual threat.
All right, let's talk about a couple of running backs who gained value in dynasty leagues over the last week, including Nick Chubb in Houston. We will get to that next. This episode is brought to you by Yahoo Fantasy. Fantasy football is back. Fire up the group chat, get your draft board ready, and buckle up for a season filled with breakouts, busts, and all of the overreactions that we live for. And it's all going down on Yahoo Fantasy. This year, me and Fabs are playing on Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too, whether you're a first-timer or a veteran making your millionth league. I've used Yahoo Fantasy for almost my entire life, and I love how smooth the draft day experience is. And to celebrate 28 years of fantasy greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days, giving you more ways to play, more ways to draft, and more ways to win big. And it all begins on August 4th. So stay tuned and get started by creating or joining a Yahoo Fantasy Football League at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. That is yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. And let's make this fantasy season the best one yet. Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. All right, Fabs, let's talk about some running backs who gained value over the last week. And we've got to start with Nick Chubb in Houston.
Right, with news that Joe Mixon's status is up in the air for the next few weeks and even into the regular season due to that foot injury. That thing has lingered, man.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look back at Joe Mixon in the first half of last year, I think it was the first 10 or 11 games, he was awesome. And I don't know what happened, whether or not the injury was something that maybe the Texans downplayed a little bit, but the wheels fell off. And then they drafted Woody Marks, and then they signed Nick Chubb. And when they signed Nick Chubb, I was thinking, all right, Joe Mixon is going to end up going on my list of busts for the upcoming season. In fact, I wrote that up. It'll be up on Sports Illustrated at some point in the next couple of weeks. And then this Mixon news breaks. So I'm not surprised. Now, I want to say this. Nick Chubb is past his prime. He's 29 years old. The good news is that it looks like there's a potential for him to get a lot of work in the beginning of the season. Now, we don't know how long Joe Mixon's going to be out. We have no idea. But this foot thing has lingered for a long time.
A long time.
And so to think now that it's just going to magically get better when he starts getting into football activities and practicing, I mean, that's kind of foolish. So there's a world where Nick Chubb may be starting a bunch of games for the Texans this season. The problem from a dynasty perspective is that, again, he's 29 years old, and he's certainly had we've already seen his best seasons, but he's basically free right now. I mean, he's the RB71 with an ADP in the 200s. That's going to change clearly, especially as we get deeper into the summer and into August, and we find out a little bit more about Mixon's status. But Mixon is a player that I am avoiding right now. He's 29 years old. You know what happens once you get to that 29-year, 30-year age range as a running back who's had a lot of work. You start to see regression. And it just really concerns me that this injury has not gotten any better to the point where he can't even practice. He can't even practice right now. So Nick Chubb is certainly a draftable asset. Woody Marks is more of the long-term play. I don't know how many more years Mixon will be in Houston. We'll see what happens with this injury. But when you're at that 29, 30-year-old age and you have an injury like this, where all of a sudden, even though you've had an entire offseason to recover, it's still not right, that is a major, major concern. So Nick Chubb moves up, and certainly Woody Marks moves up.
So I want to ask you, if you are trying to compete this year, I think Nick Chubb is a very interesting, like low-end RB2, at least for the first maybe half of the season, maybe the first month of the season. We'll see how Mixon is doing. But what would you be willing to give up to go get Nick Chubb for basically a one-year rental? We've got several trades over on Dynasty League Football where he's being traded for like pick 306 in a rookie draft, pick 308. Would you give up a this year third for Chubb?
Obviously, everything depends on circumstances. I don't know that I want to give up even that, though, because I don't know how much he's going to play. There's too much up in the air right now. We just don't know. I wouldn't want to make a trade for Nick Chubb right now because in 3 weeks, it may come out that, Mixon's going to be okay and he'll be ready for week 1. And maybe it's a committee situation, but he's going to end up. I don't know enough yet. I don't have the information. So would I trade him for maybe a 4th round pick in a dynasty league? Maybe. But I mean, again, let's not get things twisted. He's 29 years old. He has not looked like the same player since he had that brutal knee injury a couple of seasons ago. So I'm not investing too much.
Well, just for reference, like here are some of the players that are going in that like mid 3rd round of your rookie drafts. You've got Jarquez Hunter. You've got Devin Neal, Woody Marks. That's an interesting one. Would you rather have Chubb for a year or Woody Marks for the next 4?
Woody Marks.
Okay. Pat Bryant, Trevor Etienne, Savion Williams. I'm assuming you're taking Chubb over all those guys?
Again, I don't know that I am. I really don't, because he's He's a 1-year rental that may not even be a starter for 1 year, Marcus.
So we like him more, but we're still not willing to give up the third round pick.
Exactly.
That feels a little aggressive.
Let's not get nuts.
Okay.
Right. I want youth. I'd rather have Fabiano Williams, man, than unless I really am desperate at running back. And I feel like Nick Chubb, Nick Chubb to me, if he's a flex starter while he gets burned in Houston's offense, that's a win, but it's 1 year. And we just don't know.
It may be not even a full year, right? More than likely. Know. Yeah. More than likely, I don't want to 6 weeks.
I don't want to overreact. I'm not going to overreact.
And we always say those first 5 or 6 weeks of the fantasy football season, that's the easiest time to find depth and plug guys into your flex spot. So again, we like Nick Chubb more than we liked him a week ago, but don't overreact too much here.
Yep.
All right, let's talk about a player whose name you love to say, and that's Cam Skattebo for the New York Giants. The clips out of the Giants practices look great. He's got a couple big long runs, but what are your expectations for the rookie running back?
I'm really looking at Skattebo to be in a committee with Tyrone Tracy. What I love to hear is that he's getting a lot of targets as a receiver out of the backfield. He had a touchdown catch from Jackson Dart in a 7-on-7 workout. He caught a touchdown pass from Jameson Williams. He had another touchdown catch where the ball bounced off of one of his teammates and he caught it with a little toe tapping near the sidelines. And if you look back at Cam's career at Arizona State and beyond that, he was a really good pass catcher. He had 46 catches and 605 receiving yards this past season. He's a really good pass catching running back. And what do the Giants lack? Playmakers. Keep this in mind that you have Malik Neighbors and a whole lot of question marks after that. You really do. I mean, Wan'Dale Robinson, okay, he's a nice slot.
And he got hurt during Sunday's practice as well. Yeah.
Right, he's no great shakes. Darius Slayton, that kind of is what he is. And so Skattebo could really end up playing maybe a bigger role than we thought. Now, his ADP is high. I mean, he's the running back 25 right now. His ADP is just inside the top 90. But as I said, this is a player whose value is rising. I love the way that he plays the game. I think he's a lot of fun to watch. He's a good fit in terms of what he did at Arizona State, in terms of running zone versus gap. He ran 57% gap last season, 43% zone. The Giants last year, 48% zone, 52% gap. So it's a really good fit. And if he's going to catch the ball out of the backfield, this is going to be a committee. Tyrone Tracy, as nice as he was last season, is not going to be a true featured back. He's not going to be Tiki Barber. Okay. It's going to be a committee. And they drafted Skattebo to come in and be a playmaker. And it looks like maybe they've got a little something there. He's going to be utilized as a pass catcher. His value is certainly rising. Now, okay, I'm not talking about going into the Ashton Genty range. Let's not get nuts. But he's certainly a player you should be keeping an eye on right now.
One more, just Tayvon Henderson, who has, I guess, looked really good at Patriots camp. Now, he has been mixing in with the ones a little bit. He's not been a full-time starter getting these practices. But, man, I just think long-term, you look at this offense, and you got to be really excited about what Tayvon Henderson can do with Drake Maye, can do with Josh McDaniels. We've seen Josh McDaniels turn guys that were, a lot of people thought were good running backs, but not great, into leading the NFL in rushing yards. I think Henderson's still a big value in your rookie drafts right now.
Definitely a fan. I wish I ended up going to Cleveland and not New England, but that's just a short-term situation. But, when you look at what's going on in camp right now, he's being used all over the offense, trying to create mismatches. He's catching screens. He's catching swing passes, wheel routes downfield. He's looked very good. He had a double move on a defender en route to catching a pass for a touchdown from Joshua Dobbs. That was very impressive. And the Patriots are also giving him a chance to maybe return kickoffs. And Henderson had 9 career kickoff returns when he was with Ohio State. That doesn't really matter in fantasy much. Although, if you play in the scoring systems that I like to play in,
so do I.
Players should get yardage, touchdown, benefits, scoring, rewards.
Well, because
if they're doing it as return men, that's big to me.
My leagues, every single one of them is set up the same way, where you get 1 point for every 25 return yards.
Yeah.
It has to be kick return, punt return. But if you can find these guys that are being used on special teams, you should get points for it.
Yeah, no question. And those are how all of my league, like Austin Eckler last year, he had like 500 something return yards. Like that's points, man.
Yeah.
Why should that go just unrewarded?
I remember when I had Randall Cobb, like those first couple of years of Randall Cobb, it was always
Yeah.
awesome to see him getting these
Antonio
kick return
Brown
yards.
used to return like
Des Bryant.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. By the way, one other running back that I want to just mention real quick is Tank Bigsby. There are reports out there, kids, that Tank Bigsby is like the focal point of the offense on run in the backfield for the Jaguars. And he is getting drafted right now behind Travis Etienne and Rootin' Tootin'. So, like, just keep that in mind. He was my sleeper in the AFC South. I like this kid a lot. Just keep that name in mind, kids, because he is really he's starting to make some noise in camp.
I just struggle with it. You're right. I actually think he's the best pure runner on that offense. The problem is he gives you almost nothing as a receiver.
I get it. I get it.
And it's really hard to have value if you're just not going to do anything as a receiver unless you're scoring
a bunch
of touchdowns.
Marcus, based on where he's getting drafted, I mean,
it's so cheap it doesn't matter.
Super cheap, yeah.
All right. Let's talk about some pass catchers that gained value over the last week, including the starting tight end from our team. We'll talk about Jake Ferguson next. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. We've all been there, logging on early and waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show that you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories and not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping, but that's where Game Time comes in. Game Time makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever before, and prices actually drop as the closer we get to showtime, and you can save up to 60% off with their killer last-minute deals. One of my favorite features of Game Time is you go right in the app, and you can see exactly what your seats are going to look like in the app before you buy. It's awesome. For like, I'm looking to buy some Bills tickets this year. I'm going to know exactly what those seats look like, so I'm not surprised when I get to the stadium. So take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen every single day. For your second listen, check out Locked On Bets. Betting experts Lee Sterling and Kevin Rogers have daily MLB locks and can't miss football futures. Find Locked On Bets on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. All right, let's talk about some pass catchers who gained value in the first week of training camp. And we've got to start with Jake Ferguson, who got a big-time contract from the Cowboys on Sunday morning. He's going to be with the Cowboys for the next 5 seasons, a 4-year deal. I would have to assume, Fabs, this is going to really improve his dynasty value.
Right, because there's no more questions about where he might go. He was going to be entering a contract year. Now he's not. $30 million guaranteed. He's 26 years old. And listen, I mean, the Cowboys have always had success at tight end. You know, we talk about them always having success at running back before last year. Of course, Rico wasn't that bad. I don't know what's going on this season, but yeah, Dalton Schultz. I mean, Jason Witten. I mean,
Blake Jarwin was in there. Yep.
Do we go back to Doug Cosby?
We can.
Jay Novacek. I mean, like, there's a whole bunch of them. So,
not David LaFleur or Mike Lott.
This takes the guesswork out of where he might end up.
Yep.
Because the Cowboys, remember, you know, Dalton Schultz played very well, and then they ended up just letting him go. He went to Houston. Ferguson's not going anywhere. So he is a favorite target of Dak Prescott. I think we all kind of know that. Now, bringing in George Pickens will hurt. We don't know if that's only a 1-year thing or not. But I think Ferguson will still see enough targets where, you know, he'll potentially be on the back end of the tight end 1 list at the end of the season.
Yeah, and that's what we want. We want tight ends that are on good offenses, that are in stable situations, and that's what Jake Ferguson is for the foreseeable future. He's tight end 17 right now, and I'm going to read you the list of tight ends that are currently going ahead of him, and you tell me who you would take. Jake Ferguson or Mason Taylor?
Probably take Ferguson, yeah.
Yeah. And you asked me a week ago, I probably would have taken Taylor. Jake Ferguson or Travis Kelce, tight end 15?
Not Ferguson.
Yeah. This was tough. Jake Ferguson or Isaiah Likely?
Ferguson.
Okay. Jake Ferguson or Evan Ingram?
Oh, I like Evan Ingram so much. He's only on a 2-year deal in Denver. I'm going to go Ferguson.
Okay. Jake Ferguson or Kyle Pitts, tight end 12?
Don't ask me anything about Kyle
Okay.
Pitts. I'm just.
Yeah, all right, we're going to keep going.
He's not that good.
Jake Ferguson or Dalton Kincaid, tight end 11. Only a year difference between the two players.
Man, that one's rough. Kincaid has not been what we kind of hoped that he would be. I'd probably still go Kincaid.
Okay. Last one, David Njoku, tight end 10.
Guy in a contract year. It's close. It's very close.
But
I'd probably go Njoku.
The point is now we're talking about Jake Ferguson as a top 12 tight end, like pretty easily. And again, a week ago, he was tight end 17. So just that one contract extension moves him up. The other thing is, and we know how the Cowboys do this, if they pay a player, they're going to want that player to be really involved in the offense. And there was already some whispers that, hey, maybe Luke Schoonmaker or Brevin Spann-Ford get some more work at tight end. When you're giving a guy $30 million, you can bet that he's going to be an every down player for the Cowboys. And those guys are now backups. Again, just great news for the long-term outlook of Jake Ferguson. We don't have to spend too much time on it, but he's a clear winner.
I wonder if Jerry Jones will sign Michael Parsons anytime soon.
Yes, but
yeah,
I wonder how long it's going to take him to get the name
Michael.
Right.
Can't stand Jerry Jones. Okay, who's next?
Right. So let's talk about some receivers. What receiver do you think gained the most value during the week, the first week of training camp?
Dude, Emeka Egbuka, man. Baker Mayfield. I mean, you want to talk about praising this kid. You know, called him the real deal, said you can plug and play him at any one of the 3 receiver spots right now. The yards after catch potential is, quote, out the wazoo.
Yeah.
So that's actually, I kind of like that.
Good quote.
Chris Godwin, I don't know when he's coming back, coming off of the gruesome ankle injury. We don't know. Mike Evans is in a contract year. Jalen McMillan was good down the stretch last season, but, could he end up being 4th in terms of the wide receiver pecking order? I talked about Ibuka as my NFC South player to watch, sleeper type, a guy that you want to buy. They didn't draft him in the first round for nothing. A lot of comparisons to Jackson Smith and Jigba. I've said it before and I'll say it again. There is a world where Emeka Egbuka is the #1 fantasy wide receiver in Tampa Bay as soon as next season. And Baker Mayfield loves what he's seen from this kid. And versatility is great.
I'm going to give you another one. Kyle Williams for the Patriots.
Okay, you're falling into the trap, though, bro. You're falling into the trap.
I know, but I don't really like any of the other receivers on this roster outside of Stephon Diggs. And Diggs is coming back from a torn ACL. Now, he's been a full participant at practice, but just putting that out there. I just think Kyle Williams fits Drake Maye really well because he gets open all the time. Like, he's one of the best separators. And one of the things that the Patriots have had a hard time finding is those type of guys. It seems like they've been trying to draft these big outside receivers that can win at the catch point, whether it's Jalen Polk or even go back, 12 years ago now when they drafted Aaron Dobson in the 2nd round. Remember Aaron Dobson?
They have – that's the thing. And people will say, well, Fabs, it doesn't matter what happened, 10, 20 years. Okay, well, the trend keeps continuing. But the Jets drafting quarterbacks. They can't do it.
I know, but I do think this is a different type of receiver. It's not one of these outside guys that can't get open. He can get open, and you're already seeing that play out in camp.
I get it. Listen, and maybe you're going to be right. I mean, just recently, like everyone, Javon Baker, Jalen Polk. The Patriots can't get it right when it comes to wide receivers. They just can't. When it comes to draft, they can't get it right. And so maybe he will end up being good. And he's certainly a very, very draftable asset in Dynasty. I just tend to look at what has happened at that position over the years, and it's been a long, long time in terms of that trend where the Patriots just cannot get it right among wide receivers who they draft. So listen,
sign me up. I'm all in. I just think Kyle Williams is a perfect fit. I just think he's a perfect fit with Drake Maye. He gets open and he catches everything. It seems like what you want at a receiver. And I do think one of the things I like about him is he can play in the slot. He can play on the outside. We're already seeing him work with the first team. We're seeing Josh McDaniels move him around a lot. And he's wide receiver 51 right now. And again, Stephon Diggs is 31. I just won't be surprised if we're going into the 2026 season and Kyle Williams is the #1 receiver with a quarterback that we both love.
Listen, anything is possible, but that would be completely against
I'm
a
writing
pretty
it down right now so we
long-term
can check in.
historical trend. Listen, I love that stuff, and because I'm all into the historical aspect of it, and I always like to think that those who don't learn from history are damned to repeat it.
Yeah.
And so, is Kyle Williams a draftable asset in Dynasty? 100%, absolutely. And what Marcus said could potentially be the case. It just hasn't really happened for the Patriots in a long time.
He's a top 40 receiver for me in Dynasty right now. Like, I have him in the same range as I have like Matthew Golden, Luther Bird, and Brandon Ayuk, like in that same group. So I'm super aggressive. We'll see how it all pans out. All right, that is it for today's show. We want to thank you for making Locked On Dynasty Football your first listen every single day. Go check out the channel on YouTube. Download the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We are free and available on all platforms. Follow Fabs on Twitter at Michael_Fabiano. I'm at Marcus_Mosier, and we will see you right back here tomorrow.